up?
Actually, I can do it too. Shit. God, I'm so constricted in terms of space here. All right. And at 8 o'clock, I'm going to start the show, and then I'm just going to edit out this part later.
So, are we not live yet?
We're streaming, but the show's not really started yet.
Okay.
Motherfucker.
Remember, are you gonna intro us?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so fucked.
For some reason, the One Up Rejects channel never shows online for me unless I actually go in it.
Yeah. Well, every channel's like that. Okay, so let's get going. Hold on. One second. Okay, there we go. All right. And we're going to start in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the One Up Rejects show, guys. The first one for 2018. We got a packed house today, and we're going to finally put a nail in 2017. I think that's the expression. Or put a stake. Not a juicy stake, but a wooden stake in 2017. And we got lots of shit for doing it in 2018, but I wanted to be thorough. I didn't want any of this premature awardation. I don't know. What do you want to call it? So anyway.
Games to come out on the 29th of December.
Actually, the 31st. December's got 31 days. A lot of people don't know that. So, that being said, why don't we go around and introduce ourselves? I'm still Blaine.
I'm still Ernesto. We made it.
I'm John.
Nope.
John.
Nope.
Sorry, I'm John.
Okay, so here, let's all right.
Nailed it.
So, all right, we have Anthony, Blaine, John, Ernesto, and Mike. And so, Anthony, say something so people know your voice.
It's something so people know my voice.
John.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Ernesto.
Hi-yo!
And Mike.
Aloha.
He's not actually Hawaiian. Don't be fooled. So, yes, this is the first show of 2018, and we're going to start 2018 the way it should be started by talking about 2017. And I think we're all sick to death of 2017, so even though we're going to spend the entire fucking show on it, let's... Yeah. After this week, we're done. Next week, we're actually going to be talking nothing but 2018, including PAX South and releases that we care about. But for now, clear your mind of the future and focus only on the past. Looking at our agenda here, it's hilarious that I said that. I'm such a terrible host. One of you guys should do it. So forget what I said about forgetting about the future. But not for long. Because we're going to do what you're playing first, and then we're going to talk the One Up Rejects games of the year. So those of you that are very excited and really want to know what they are, you're going to wait a while. Sorry. And then we're going to talk our personal games of the year. So that being said, Anthony, what you playing?
So it's as it has been actually for the past few weeks. Ever since I finished Zelda, it's been really random. So I finished up Chrono Trigger. I think for the time of our last call, I think I just made it to 12,000 BC. Mm-hmm. So it's just a game that I really hold dear. My son actually became completely enamored with it. He wanted to, so I was live reading a hell of a lot more of the game. So I ended up going through basically the highlights. So using the save states on the SNES Mini, I just pinpointed basically like the highlights of the game, and I go back, play through them real quick and read them. So it was really entertaining. I'm glad I went through and finally did it. That's the first time I've actually replayed that since I originally owned the cartridge on SNES. So that was a lot of fun. Having finished that, I tried to start Knights of the Old Republic 2 with mods because I had not played it with the restored content, and I got about an hour in and ended up starting Star Wars The Old Republic instead, which I had managed to somehow miss completely ever since its launch. Blaine, how old is that game now? Like 4 years?
15.
15.
Oh, SWTOR. No. 6.
Yeah, so I had not played it up until this point. I kept hearing how it is far and away the most story-driven MMO. I'm not really a fan of MMOs, which is the main reason why I skipped it. But going back to it and playing it, since it went free to play, I figured, what the hell? Um, I had more questions than statements on it, actually. So I don't know how many of you have actually played it. Blaine, I know you do quite a bit, but my God, there's a lot of running. And I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or if it was meant to be that way because it was originally subscription based and they want you to waste like 3 hours just walking from point A to point B. But my gosh.
Hey, hey, Mark, how do I sound now? Let me know. Yeah, are you still on the starting planet?
I'm on a Coruscant.
Coruscant, okay. Yeah, I mean, the game is
the
big.
first missions there, my goodness, like just running to like the spaceport for one of them, I would literally be walking for 3 to 4 minutes to just get to the next waypoint of a quest that I'm on.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. Yeah, I do remember that. And actually, at some point, you unlock the ability to run faster, then you unlock the ability to get mounts. And then by the time you're max level, you're just teleporting all over the goddamn map. I mean, it's kind of like,
I should put up with this. It will get better, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I mean, really, like I've had a max level 2 for years, and yeah, like every time I go to do an alt, it is a little rough at the start where I'm like, wow, these maps sure feel a lot bigger when you can't teleport. But
the only other thing that I'd bring up, and I'm curious if this is just me for anybody else that's thinking of giving it a try. I mean, hell, what do you even got to lose? I mean, it's free. So I'd heard also, I chose a Jedi Knight because I heard it was as close to Knights of the Old Republic 3 as you could get. I don't know if you played many characters. Is that the case maybe for anybody that liked the older RPGs and is in it for the story?
Yeah, so each of the characters, I've got 10 alts, I think. I think 3 or 4 are max level. And yeah, I mean, the story's fantastic. It does vary from class because one of the great things about this game is each class has its own story for like the first 50 levels, something like that. And then once you hit end game, then light side kind of funnels together and dark side sort of funnel together. So it's mileage may vary depending on the class. I have yet to play one that I was like, oh, this is fucking terrible. But yeah, I mean, Jedi Knight's generally regarded as KOTOR 3. I've heard Imperial Agent's the best one. I'm actually saving that one for last because I've heard it's so good. But also, like, both of the Sith classes are fucking awesome in terms of story. Like, you get to be just nasty wicked. That's great. And you get to bang slave girls.
Well, that's good. That gives you something to look forward to there. I said I just got to Coruscant. I'm fighting
Coruscant.
Coruscant. I'm fighting the Black Sun right now. So it's just that's the only thing that's really holding me back. I have the skill where you run 30% faster, but it doesn't seem to do a whole lot.
It makes a nice little wind animation when you start running.
That's about it. So it seems interesting. The combat, my gosh, though, that game engine, I don't know. I'm running on a fairly beefy machine, and it doesn't matter what setting I'm on. That engine chugs when you're dealing with a lot of actual other people. So if there's a bunch of other people on the screen, it drops to 20 frames per second. Everywhere else, it's a solid 60.
Interesting. I've not noticed that, but yeah. So
go ahead.
Are you going to stick with it?
I think I will, just because every indication that I've seen is that it is truly free, with the weird loophole that apparently to unlock all of the expansions, you just subscribe for 1 month and then cancel.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, so this is the weirdest method that I've ever heard of gating stuff through expansions. I thought that I'd have to buy them, but if at the end of the day it's at worst a $15 investment to get all the content, as long as the story grabs me enough in the first 30 or so levels, then yeah, I'll stick with it.
You're gonna have a big problem though at about level 20 or 30, where unless you start grinding, you're gonna not be a high enough level. Like so this is the difference between SWTOR and ESO. ESO, when they made
So
subscription,
real quick, ESO, Elder Scrolls Online.
yes. So Elder Scrolls Online, when they dropped the requirement for subscription, what they did was they said, well, if you subscribe, you get a boost in leveling. SWTOR went the other direction because it's fucking EA, and they said if you don't subscribe, you level at a slower rate than you need to in order to play the game. The free version is a glorified demo.
That's the problem Alex had. He eventually had to start paying a subscription because everything was so slow. Everything was slow. There was a wall for everything.
Mhm.
He eventually,
Now-
you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna pay.
Yeah, and like now I've been a subscriber since before it came out. Like because I was early access, beta, all that stuff. So I've had a sub for over 6 years now, and I love the game. But if I would not love it if I wasn't a subscriber.
Huh.
So now take it as far as you can, and let's see if I can give you some of my leveling boosts. Is one of the things I do with the space bucks that I get for being a sub. Is I spend half of them on leveling boosts, and then I spend the other half on the online store. And so I turn my sub into more money in game. Because I'm that guy.
Yeah, and I've gotten a few level boost items, and I don't know if it's because I made my account 5 years ago or something like that. Which is why when I logged back in, I found that lovely pyramid skin character on my account, which is a little odd. But when I get XP for completing a quest, it gives me a huge chunk of legacy XP as well, which I thought was interesting. But so maybe they've done something to tweak it. I don't know. You said you started another character. So far, I've been leveling fine, but I'm only at level 15 right now. So we'll see. I'll report back if it drops off from here. But as of right now, I'm enjoying it enough. You can tell the game is heavily dated at this point, but really nothing to lose. So I'd say anybody who hasn't played it, if you're interested in like the Star Wars RPG front, I mean, might as well download it, give it a shot. It's like I said, in a worst case, if I have to subscribe for a few months, that's still less than the cost of a brand new game, especially if I can put it off till I'm, let's say, level 20 something, 30. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I've been putting in time in this week.
But my last 2 cents about SWTOR, I feel fine about the subscription because there's such a value, because there's so point over 6 years fairly regularly, and there's still stuff I haven't seen. So, quality, because the game's gone through a few awkward phases, but the base game is fantastic, and as long as you ass, you're good to go. So, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, keep
A little bit of breaking up.
Cutting, yeah.
Okay. So what?
It gets jittery every now and then for like 2 seconds.
Okay.
It's your video also, though, not just audio.
Oh.
So I'm guessing it's connection related.
Huh. That's annoying. Okay. Well, also, I was echoing for the first few minutes. Thank you, Mark, for telling me that. Because, so, yeah, I definitely put together a checklist for this, which I'll do tonight after the show. Because I had 2 mic sources going, because why the fuck not? Now I don't. Now I'm down to What times? Oh, there's Mark. Oh my God.
I don't know. I don't know if the mic is going to be working.
Yeah, it's working.
There we go.
All right.
It
Cool.
didn't work last week, but now it's working.
Yeah. I decided to use my phone, not my PC.
Okay. Wow, it's a full house. Okay, so I'm going to jump in on what I've been playing, and similar to Anthony here, actually, it's been mostly an MMO, which is Elder Scrolls Online.
Really? Huh.
Someone's got a TV going in the background or something like that.
Yeah, it's me.
Okay, that's all right.
Uh,
You're fine. But
Right, let's
no,
try this.
so yeah, ESO is fantastic because it's Elder Scrolls and you get to run around and do awesome single player stuff, and you can, and it's kind of like SWTOR, where like if you feel like grouping up, you can, but you don't have to. You can solo more or less the entire game. So I'm in and out of guilds, and I don't know. It's just, it's one of the best value that's out there, and that game was really rough in its first year, but before the show, we were sort of talking about differences, like the gaming calendar. And this time of year, I don't have a main game that I'm playing. I don't know what it is, but like this time of year, I just cannot focus on anything, which is when I kind of fall back to my MMOs like Elder Scrolls Online. So yeah, if anyone's interested in playing with me on PC, I'm there, and just let me know. It's a great game. I'm just running around doing all kinds of end game shit. That's awesome. For single player, I've been playing Watch Dogs. I have such a love-hate relationship with that game. Because Watch Dogs, like what the game is, and I talked about this a little bit earlier on Facebook. If I look at the bullet points on the back of the box, I'm like, hacking in a place I used to live, and it's hacking, and it's like GTA except fun, and you know, like every part of that, I'm like, yes, this is great. And then I go play the game, and again, I'm like, yes, this is great. I'm having a great time. And then
you get in a car.
Well, it's funny. The worst part of that game is the fucking takedowns. Like they're so bad. And now the driving isn't my biggest issue with the game, but the driving, if you use a controller, is actually doable. And it's way less floaty than in GTA. But the takedown missions are so obnoxious. Where a guy takes off in a car, you have to chase him in a car, and then either the police or gangsters or whoever start trying to fuck with you in their cars. And it's one of those things where, I mean, it's like an old NES boss fight where you have to memorize, okay, when I do this, then they're going to do this. And you have to do this awful trial and error stage. And I hate doing trial and error in games. I like everything to be easy. So fuck that. Otherwise, like my biggest issue with the game is like it's the same with every Ubisoft game I play, which is the game lacks soul. Like there's something about it that just keeps me from, I don't know. Has anyone here played an Ubisoft game recently, except for Mike, and not felt that way or felt that way? Like, do you guys know what I'm talking about when I say there's no soul in these games?
There is one series that I can imagine that really does it a lot is especially Far Cry. Because the last couple of Far Cry, especially Far Cry Primal, it just felt very much like a checklist. It's like blah, 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 blah. And that game felt soulless to me.
Yeah, I just, like, there's nothing about this game where I can point at and say, this is deficient. Like, I did get some good advice from a guy that's in the public house, Andrew Kowald, where he told me, ignore as many of the side missions as you can and focus on the core game and you'll have a good time. And he was pretty much dead on with that. That was like the issue that I had before, where it's like I made the mistake of trying to do side content, and that game just don't. Like, do some of the crime prevention, do the CTOS towers, and the campaign, and nothing else. Do not do anything else, and the game is playable. So
I think I might have to agree with or my experience with The Crew is actually kind of similar, where if you go down the side mission route, you get really bored after a while.
Well, and the mechanics don't support the side missions well. Like the hacking stuff is really fun. The gunplay is tolerable. The driving is barely tolerable. But having to do anything with any precision in that game, unless you've got 50 hours a week to spend on it, it's just you're not going to have a good time.
The whole thing that looked semi-appealing from Watch Dogs, and this is when it got all the really crappy reviews. I mean, I didn't have enough time to even try it out, but it seemed like it would be fun just to turn the city against people more so than do any shooting or chasing or anything like that. Is that aspect of it at least smooth? Does it just fall apart when it turns into a normal shooter, or?
I actually play the game almost entirely stealth, and taking guys down that way is extremely satisfying. When I get into a gunfight, it's either over in 2 seconds, or I'm able to. Because one of the things you can do, like if you get into a gunfight and you still have your phone out, you can see, oh hey, I can make. Wow, Ernesto's got a fun place.
Yeah, I guess.
But you know, I'll see that. Oh, I can make this transformer, this electrical transformer, make this guy blow up. You know, and you also watch out for the guys that have the thing over their head that shows that they can call in reinforcements. So, okay, I got to take those guys out first. So that aspect of the game is great. It's just, the game is not a sum of its parts. Like, oh, that's nice.
What about you?
Are you serious? Well, that's funny. Windows. Thanks, Windows. Here, actually, I need to make this PC not reboot. If only I had Aiden Pierce's Watchdog phone.
The iPhone.
Yeah.
So you're playing it though because you already owned it somehow.
Right. Yep.
Oh, they were giving it away for free.
Well,
I think they still are.
They were. They did twice in 2 months.
I think I got it at launch. I don't know why. Oh, well, and here's the thing. I should have known better too, because like you guys remember that E3 where Watch Dogs ruled the show. Like, and that trailer is the reason why I give you motherfuckers so much shit when you're like Ghost of Sushi or whatever the fucking game is that like no one actually knows what it is. You know, or the whatever. You know, you're like, oh my God, the game looks amazing. And I'm like, Watch Dogs. Okay? Because we've seen no gameplay, we've seen nothing. And Watch Dogs isn't a bad game, but it's also not great. You know, it's fun.
Watch Dogs had a hell of a gameplay trailer on one of the E3s. That was the reason why I pre-ordered a PS4. I was like, I need to play this day one and the best looking way possible. Because I remember they had that stage where you had to go into like a party and then hack in, and then you would exit out and then hack into a car and then hack the street lights so the police was still chasing you. Then hack a garage door, hide in, and then go into a party. I was like, whoa, this is amazing.
Now, I did have an amazing.
You can hack it.
Well, now, yeah. Oh God, that's funny because he kept saying that shit. But I don't think that was gameplay. I think that was. I think it was all pre-rendered, but it was like, here's kind of what you can do. Now, I will say, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about Watch Dogs, and then we'll move on. I did have a moment where I was fleeing. Like I took out some crime boss guy, and then I was fleeing from his minions in cars, right? And then I'm shooting down the road, and I see that I can make the blockers, the street blockers, pop up, and so I pop them as I'm going over them. So they pop up and trash the rear end of my car. I see a garage ahead of me. I hit the button to hack the garage, make the door come up, and then I slam into the garage, trashing the car completely, and then hit the button again to make the garage door go down, and I lost them. And like I was like curled up in a corner in the garage, and they're like going around, and I mean, so there are those great moments,
You died in a twisted metal heap, but you escaped
No.
the guys.
I survived. No, like I trashed the car, but I mean, I got out and then went and hid in the corner. But so the game does have great moments. It's just like I said, there's something about it that just doesn't quite pop. I don't know.
And
So
on that note of Ubisoft, I really do think they're turning around because you mentioned that they're lacking a soul, and I totally get that. But I feel like in later games, especially Watch Dogs 2, the cities feels more alive. It feels like there's more stuff going on. The quests are more interesting. The main characters are more interesting. And then Watch Dogs just has this mood of, I mean, the second one has this mood of just fun. The first one was like super serious.
yeah,
Like, way more serious than it had to be. The second one is like, we're just going to have fun with this. And you're mentioning the hacking and the stealth. And the first one, you have to grab a gun. And Wolfenstein, Watch Dogs 2, as far as I played, you can play it all hacking. You can just be hacking your way through it. You don't need
That's
to
awesome.
hold a weapon. And that's freaking awesome.
yeah,
Well, it sounds like they learned from their mistakes in the first one.
Right.
yeah. It is like Aiden Pierce is hypergram, but Ernesto, what you been playing?
I'm kind of in the same boat as you guys. I've kind of finished the main stuff last year, and I've been like wondering what to play now. I finished Wolfenstein New Order because I want to get to the second one, and now I'm playing Old Blood. So that's the main thing I'm playing. So far, I'm really enjoying it. It's a prequel, so I was expecting that I was gonna lose some kind of like abilities or powers. It's pretty much the same thing. The story is not as good as it was in the New Order. They kind of went with like a chapter-based story, kind of like Inglourious Basterds kind of thing going on, where as soon as you finish a part, the screen goes black and then it says chapter whatever. Oh, the castle or whatever it is, and the story keeps going. But I do think the gameplay is much better. It's the same gameplay, but it's just more fun. The level layout is really cool. Most of the game so far, I've been in the Castle Wolfenstein, and it's been really fun. There was this huge, gigantic part where I had to open up a gate, and I had to go on both sides of the gate to unlock the mechanisms to then lift the gate in the center, and that required me to like go in water, find a boat to move to a second area, and then stealth your way around. There were like different kind of ways to do it. I could go underground. I could go guns blazing on the surface. There was just a lot of freedom on how to do the level, and I really enjoyed it.
Is that different? Is that different from the base game?
Yeah, because the original feels more linear. It's really good. It's just really linear. How do I say this? All right, so the original feels more like a BioShock 1, where you have a big area to explore, but it's kind of a linear pathway. Where the Old Blood is feeling more like Half-Life 2, where you really don't have like a predefined area. The world feels bigger than it is, basically.
Not to be fair, for those who haven't played the first Wolfenstein, it's still very much a corridor encounter room. So I understand what you're going for with the BioShock comparison. I just didn't want to, if somebody was holding off on the Wolfenstein games and then they heard that and they were like, oh, but no, there's no backtracking, nothing of that. It's still corridor, kill room, so on and so forth.
Right. What I mean is like you have this huge map, and then you can like kind of explore into the rooms, and there's secrets and stuff to find. It's not like a straight up corridor, but it is linear. The expansion feels like more open. It's still a linear way to get through it, but you have different options to go through it. There's a bigger focus on the stealth, on the DLC as well. So I'm just having a lot of fun with it. It's more Wolfenstein. I'm happy to play it. I'm afraid I'm gonna be burning out by the time I finish it and I actually get to the second one, which is the reason why I've been playing all this. But we'll see how it goes. But so far, I'm having a lot of fun, and I heard nothing but great things about the new Colossus.
So here's an interesting question then, and this goes to how I look at a lot of these. Wolfenstein was the outlier for me, and this is what was so weird because I played that, and then there's a Doom remake. So I don't know how many else on the show actually played both of those. But like Doom had excellent gameplay. Wolfenstein, of all the games out there, actually had a decent story, and the gunplay was just okay. So if the Old Blood, and I didn't play the Old Blood, if that is sort of a disappointment story wise, would it make more sense just to skip over it completely?
I mean, you totally can. As far as I research online, most of the majority of people think just skip it. There's a couple of nudges that if you play it, it's gonna make sense in the second one. Apparently, I didn't want to look too much into that for spoilers, but there's things here and there. There's things like different things that go on in New Order, and then you play the Old Blood, and they kind of explain why they happen, but it's nothing important. Like you can totally skip it. I'm just having a lot of fun with the gameplay. That's mostly the thing, and I'm having a lot of fun exploring the levels and just going through them. That's it really. But you can totally skip it and go straight to the second one.
Are you playing on PS4?
Yeah.
PS4 Pro or amateur?
Oh, Pro. The amateur one I gave away.
So are they enhanced for Pro, or are they?
Apparently they are, but I'm not sure. I read about it having a patch where it works, but I'm not seeing much difference. The only difference I'm seeing is from the boost mode.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I'm so not used to going into options on console games, but now that I've got a Pro and an X, I am, because I was like, oh, it's just a console. You'll just set it in the system settings and then you're done. But no, like it's not the case. So like Horizon Zero Dawn, I didn't realize I needed to do this, but I actually went into the options and changed some shit, and then it looked way better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the settings now on the Pro are something similar to what you would find in a computer when you set it up for like maximum settings or.
Well, yeah, but even within the games themselves, like there's a little bit of work to be done, like in the games options.
Right. The options so far have all been sort of silly. So it's basically, do you want it to run smooth, or do you want us to just output the highest level of detail at a frame rate we can't keep?
Yeah, and then there's also the setting that's like, hey, this has HDR, motherfucker. And then you're like, would you like it to look good or like ass?
Yeah.
And
would you like it to run like ass or look like ass?
Yeah. So, it's interesting that it's funny because like consoles keep marching toward what PC is, where like day one patches used to not be a thing. And in fact, patches at all used to not be a thing. But now console games get patches. Now they get day one patches. Now you buy the game and there's like a piece of paper inside it that says like, haha, you thought there was a disc in here.
Right.
And I don't know. Anyway.
What is this, the 90s?
Yeah. But now you have the option to make the game run like shit, which PCs had forever. Yeah, but console now has the option to make a game run like shit too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just seeing that kind of parody is amazing. Ernesto, are you done?
Yeah, just real quick. The other two I'm playing. I got as a Christmas gift Gundam Versus. I'm really not into Versus games that much, but I do enjoy Gundam a lot. Quick impressions. I started playing last night. The graphics are, the music.
What's this on? Just because I hadn't heard it before. What system is it on?
I believe it's only PS4.
Oh, okay. One-on-one fighter?
You can actually do 4v4 or teams of 2v2, or actually 3v3 as well. It has a lot of options, but it's up to 4 players at a time. And you can play like versus mode versus other players, or it has some kind of like a horde mode where you can play it with up to 4 friends. And yeah, it's the graphics are not great, the music's not great, but man, there's a lot of fan service, and it's a lot of fun to play so far. And like I said, I'm not into fighters that much, but it controls nicely once you figure out what does what, because you're controlling a mech basically, and it's not as easy as like controlling a human character in a fighter. But once you like figure out the boosts and how they work, how do the attack works for each individual Gundam, because they all have different movesets, it starts getting really fun. And just playing it with friends that also enjoy the series, it's really cool. And when you jump into a Gundam and the theme of that particular Gundam show like blurs in your speakers, you're like, oh yeah, this is pretty awesome. You start freaking out. So yeah, I haven't played that much, but what little I played, it has been enjoyable. It's not something I would play on my own, but playing with friends in versus mode is really fun so far.
Is a Gundam a robot?
Gundam is mech.
Okay, all right, and
Oh.
okay,
Oh.
like Titanfall, I get it. No, like I'm hip. I know what you young people.
I didn't meant to be snotty.
It's a mech.
It's a mech, okay.
Is it a
It's a
mech
mech.
or is it a battle mech?
What was that?
Is it a mech or is it a battle mech?
The person
I'm
inside
just
fucking with you, dude. He's fucking with you.
I'm just being difficult.
All right.
The mecha from Japan, and then they're the battle mech from Mech Warrior.
Oh. All right, we lost Blaine. No, and then real quick, the last one I'm playing, SteamWorld Dig, because I want to get to the sequel. Really fun, man. I didn't expect to enjoy it so much. It's basically like a Metroidvania where you create the map layout by digging underground, and as you dig further underground, there's power-ups and stuff to let you reach newer areas, and then you upgrade your pickaxe, which lets you pick faster, and then you upgrade your light, which lets you stay far longer underground. I haven't played that much either, but what little I played has felt very rewarding. You keep finding upgrades pretty consistently, and I'm enjoying it a lot. I want to get to the second one because the second one I've read it's more Metroidvania-ish, where this one is more Dick Dog-ish, I guess. I don't know. But I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot. Probably talk more about it next week when I put more time into it. But that's really all I'm playing.
All right, John, go.
I've been playing Destiny 2 and PUBG for the most part. PUBG more recently, it's pretty addicting. The shooting mechanics and stuff are pretty tough to get a hold of, but it's just fun playing the survival genre, you know what I mean, against everybody else, Battle Royale.
I like
Destiny-
watching people play that, but I tried Ark and I lasted 15 seconds. Then I was like, I'm never fucking touching this ever again. But so, what is it about the survival genre that appeals to you?
Well, this game specifically, it's I like that you can go so long without even seeing a player because the map's so huge. So really, you get to pick. It's picking your spots, where you're going to parachute out, where you're going to land, how are you going to loot, but how are you not going to come across too many people? When you do, how are you going to win that engagement? That sort of thing that you have to play with that is really addicting.
So
You know.
with the one thing that was imposing because I watch people stream it, and it seemed really appealing, especially the whole if you die you just jump into the next queue right away instead of having to wait. But the thing that looked so janky was people would fly through. They'd go into a room, they'd bring up this menu, and they just drag and drop like 50 things super quick and then close it down. Like
Actions per minute.
is that intuitive at all, or is that just something that these people just play it a hell of a lot?
I actually, I play on Xbox, so it's a little bit clunky because you have to do it using like the bumpers and the D-pad to go through and get everything. It's not something you do very fast. So on the Xbox, that's a slower process.
What's PUBG's native platform?
PC.
But it
Come
recently
on,
came
it's
to
PC.
Xbox.
Hey,
Are you playing on the original one or the 1X?
Original one.
How does it run?
The
Is it
amateur one.
The amateur, yeah, I run the amateur one. It runs pretty good. I've tried streaming it, but it is intensive. It does though. I do get lag. I do get drop frames, stuff like that. It is intensive. People compare it to when it first came out on PC. So they need to work on optimization, bugs, things like that.
Yeah, to me it sounds like such a cool concept that not something I would play, but because I also do enjoy watching the streams, but I don't know, I just haven't I haven't been compelled to jump in it, but it does look really fun. The aspect of it, the way you hear people talking about their experiences, it sounds like a cool thing.
It is a lot of fun, and it's definitely a lot more fun if you have a group. I like doing the squad stuff, the duos. I like having team members that, so you're looting through different buildings, picking stuff up. You can drop stuff for each other. You get to work together a lot more. The single one's cool and all, but there's just that whole other aspect when you have a squad with you, like that's my squad.
Yeah. It's funny. The zombie, the first survival genre game with the zombies. What was that? DayZ? I remember.
I was about to
Joel,
say Left 4 Dead.
Oh well, no, but see, this is a distinct concept from Left 4 Dead because Joel and I heard about it, and then we were talking, and we're like, hey, we should go try that DayZ game. And at the time, it was just a mod for Arma, and we both had it, so we loaded the mod up, and then we were walking around in this like big, huge, giant map with sparse buildings and even sparser supplies and shit. And we're just walking around. We're like, so what do we do? Like, we didn't know anything about the game. Then all of a sudden, someone starts shooting at us. And I was like, shit, Joel, I think someone's shooting at us. He's like, yeah, I think you're right. And I'm like,
he said, yeah.
So we start running in the other direction. And then I was like, can we go in the houses? I don't think we can. We need to find a way to get into the houses. And we never did figure out how to get into the houses, and the guy just walked up and killed us. And
press E.
Right, I'm like, is it E? Is it F? Is it R? What the fuck are we doing? And
we're dying.
Yeah, and then we never played it again. So
I don't know. The survival shooter genre really isn't for everyone, as far as I know.
Oh yeah,
it wasn't for me until recently.
PUBG,
until it came on Xbox.
As a mod originally as well, or at least the guy who did it used to do mods, and that's what it always struck me as was you could sort of tell the difference between like somebody who made mods. Their first game is always going to be like a little bit rough around the edges, but I still always found it impressive that they were able to release it as a standalone, and that's what I thought was really cool. I don't know if when he was doing mods though, if something that was reminiscent of PUBG ever came out, because I'm not big on the mod scene for all those Arma games or etc.
So is PUBG the first like battle royale kind of game?
No.
Well, he tried to copyright it, so he thinks it is.
Because I know is that the first one that does the radius that keeps decreasing as the match goes on?
No,
that to me was very a Hunger Games.
H1Z1.
Yep.
Okay.
I think it may have been the first game that did the whole instant queue aspect, and I think that's really what set it apart for people. I think without that, it would have never taken off. But we're not going to know now. But I think that's the biggest appealing part, because when you suck at a game like that, there's nothing worse than literally just having to sit there for 10, 15 minutes just watching other people with like the spectator cam. So.
Yeah, considering that I do a lot of sitting around like that in Counter-Strike, yeah, I don't think I'm going to like PUBG.
All right, John, what else you
got? Destiny 2, and especially the expansion, Osiris's expansion. I've been having a lot of fun with that. As a team, clan, we haven't gotten into the new endgame content yet too much. We're still doing milestones, leveling characters. We haven't gotten the new raid layer. They did add a lot. but I feel like they could have added more. You know, they could have added a new raid, not just a layer. It's basically a mini raid. The mechanics of the game, of course, are very fleshed out.
Right.
The game mechanics themselves, you know, the shooting aspect and the PvP, it's all fun and fleshed out. You work for milestones to get more powerful gear to level up, so this doesn't feel stagnant, but it can towards the end of the week, towards the end of their week, because they reset every week to get new milestones, so you can get new gear. So it can get kind of grindy in that way too. But I've had a lot of fun with it. I put a lot of hours into it so far.
So how is the community? Because like you go online, and judging by that reaction online, it's everybody hates Destiny. Destiny should die already, and Activision needs to like explode and stop existing. I'm like, whoa, people chill. What's going on? Because I see people playing it, so I don't understand.
The community, the big gripe with the community is that when Destiny 2 first came out, it felt a lot like Destiny 1, but with some of their favorite parts missing. And a lot of that hasn't been introduced yet. And I get where they're coming from. I don't feel that way because I didn't play Destiny 1 as much. So for me, it is all new and fresh. But to read about the things they had and go, yeah, that would have been, you know, that'd be really cool. That would give the game more content. It's got people frustrated.
Right.
Yeah, that's a game I keep forgetting that I technically own. Kind of like Battlefront 2. Well, because I buy all that shit for my kids.
You can forget about Battlefront though.
Well, I came home from having my car molested by AutoZone, and my son's playing Battlefront 2. He's sitting there playing it, complaining about it, but playing it. And I'm like,
sounds like a Battlefield experience.
I think it's a game thing these days.
I'm like, if it's so fucking bad, then
stop playing it.
Yeah, it sounds like any multiplayer shooter. That's why I sort of stay away from them.
Yeah.
I rented it with a Redbox coupon where I got the first night free. I still feel ripped off, man. That was horrible, and I was so pissed too because story wise, like the book. Did you read the book, Blaine?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, man, that book was great. And then they freaking betray all the characters. Like, oh, Battlefront is just horrible, man. I hated that shit.
Yeah. So, okay. What else you got, John? Is that it?
That's it for me.
Okay. Mark.
Hi. Well, I would say that this week might have been inspired heavily by Ernesto's stream for Cuphead.
Yeah.
So I started playing Cuphead, but from there, I guess
Cuphead.
Yeah,
Cuphead. Yeah.
Cuphead. So from there, I guess it reawakened my platformer spirit, if you will. So I ended up branching out. Well, actually, kind of backwards. From there, from Cuphead, I started playing other platformers. Shantae for GBC came about.
Oh, wow.
And after getting totally frustrated over the game mechanics on that, I decided to fast forward over to Shantae's Risky's Revenge on Steam. Played the crap out of that. And at the New Year's Eve party, someone was playing the SNES Classic. They were playing Mega Man X, so I started playing that too.
Sweet. What a great party!
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that was where I also sang "What's Up" by Four Non Blondes on Rock Band. So that was really fun. I wasn't on the mic, but I was still singing along. The guy that was on the mic was singing like He-Man.
Nice.
In the techno version, so that was pretty fun. Anyway, another retro game, which is not really a platformer, but more of a shooter. I got into Res Infinite.
Oh, wow.
That game looks so much better, like at 60 frames at 1080p. So
are you playing it in VR?
No, I don't have VR.
Okay.
But yeah, you know what? I haven't unlocked it yet, but I know that there's a first person mode, so that's the next best thing, I guess. I'm not gonna buy like a Vive just to do that though.
I imagine playing Res with the VR you must get a reaction like The Simpsons, where they saw those Japanese cartoons and
Yeah,
that's it.
Oh, that
Man.
that was the
That
best
sounds
episode of
intense.
The Simpsons ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure. I didn't realize it was non-VR because I picked it up when it came out on Steam and played through it on the Rift. So did they have the additional level in there where it's like free roam or
oh, Area X.
yeah?
Yeah. But they also have the original game. I mean,
Okay.
like they released it on Steam with the idea that they wanted to implement a VR component to it. I take it it's successful. I don't know, but whatever.
I remember fucking Milky used to like gush about that game. Oh my god! Like,
Well, it's not that amazing, but it's pretty good. It's nice to look at. I
yeah,
might
yeah.
I might do a rogue stream somewhere. I don't know.
No, that'd be cool.
Kind of
Yeah,
like along the same vein of as Pac-Man Championship DX Plus.
Oh yeah, gosh, now you're talking my kind of stuff.
Well,
Yeah, it's always a nice game to chill
hmm
or even stream so other people can chill. So
Like
I haven't tried
Luminous-
Area X yet in Res Infinite, but I guess I'll try it soon.
I mean,
No,
it's pretty short, but it's fun. The biggest thing that always stuck with me, and Res came out when I was in college, so that's the reason why, from a music perspective, I don't know why at the time I was really into techno. It probably had something to do with the environment I was in. But
When the
anyway,
fuck was that?
I was still in Kirksville when that came out.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, Marty.
Experimentation phase.
No, because Tony and I did some time in college together. So okay, so this preceded that. Okay.
Yeah. So it was known more for its soundtrack, but yeah, it plays more like Star Fox than anything else. So
Huh.
gameplay wise, it was never anything special. The sixth stage or Area 6 was always what it was known for. Area 6 is almost as long as like 1 through 5 combined, but the whole game you can play through in, I want to say, like 40 minutes. I don't know, Mark, you played through it more recently than I have.
Yeah, I think 40 minutes might be accurate if you survive. I mean, like my rusty grandpa reflexes, I couldn't get past the second boss like after I finally got past him after 3 attempts. But yeah, I would say that if you can go through it, you can probably go through all 5 stages in around 40 minutes or less.
Every time you guys talk about a game that's on Steam, I go to Steam and check because 80% of the time I already own it.
Yep.
Or I bought it in a sale some
Well, it's
time ago.
the complete opposite when it comes to me looking at console systems where it's like, oh yeah, I have that on Steam already. So like, the feeling's mutual.
But I do not own Res, so I should check it out.
And actually, yeah, like the phenomenon you're talking about, Ernesto, I love that because I don't even go to see if I already own it. I'm clicking so fast through shit that I get to my checkout and it's like, oh, you want to buy this for a friend? I'm like, no, fuck my friends.
Yeah,
I want this game.
My friends, I want to play for me, man.
yeah. Why
Yeah,
do they have
and
to
it's
put- why
like-
do they have
You
to
own
put
it,
the
doofus.
gift button
Oh.
right next to the buy for myself? It's
Right,
come
and
on,
it's
let's
like-
not make it so.
And I'm like, why is buy for myself grayed out? The fucking thing is broken.
Oh, so
And then-
speaking of
Oh.
the best of 2017, I don't know if this is when Steam started doing it, but did you notice now if you try and buy a bundle where you own like, let's say 2 or
Yeah.
3 things, they give you a
They
discount for the stuff you
Yes.
It's
already-
great.
Oh
They
my
did
God.
that with me for Fallout New Vegas. I had the game, so they gave me the DLC as a discount. It's pretty sweet.
Well, speaking of buying everything, what are you playing, Mike?
Nice segue, man.
Wow, that was
messed up.
that was subtle. I like it.
Beautiful.
That was
What a
real good.
segue.
I haven't had a whole hell of a lot of time, so what I've been playing is there's a mobile game called Disney Magic Kingdoms, and I played it on my phone, and I also
Yeah,
played it
mobile games.
on Windows 10 as well on my PC. And
Oh,
the cool
crap.
thing about it is I can just pick up where I left off on my PC on my phone.
Oh, that's nice.
And it's basically
Ooh.
kind of like it's a little kind of RTS where, you go around managing your
Oh, wait,
park
wait,
and
wait.
your characters.
May I ask how you do that? Is it like tied to a universal account?
It's tied to you can tie it to your Facebook account.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's convenient.
It's really cool. I love it for that. So
Yeah,
that's
I don't even think I can do that with my Assault 8 account.
really, they should do
Well,
that, man. It's just
yeah,
it's just
they
a great
should.
little option that you can do.
Yeah.
And I actually spent a couple of bucks just to upgrade some characters and stuff in the game. It was like $4 or $5. And since I've been playing the game for honestly like the past year and a half, they gave me $5 for free. And it was a
Oh.
couple of crystals, and I was like, okay, cool. But besides that, on the Windows side of things, Disneyland Adventures was remastered and launched on the Xbox One this fall around November.
Is that the
And
Kinect
also,
one?
that's the Kinect one. They remastered it, but they took away all the Kinect stuff. So you can play it now with a controller, which is like leagues better. It's so much better. And it's a fun little game. Basically, you go around and the entire Disneyland theme park, you can ride rides, you do missions. It's a kids game. It's really relaxing. It's fun. It's colorful. I hope that they patch it on Windows simply because performance is not that great. I got in touch with Blaine one time. He was about to get out, and one of my biggest issues with Windows 10 games that use their Windows Store is that trying to capture it with OBS or pretty much any other device is a crapshoot and a half, and performance just tanks.
And you can't mod it, so fuck it.
You can't mod it. You can't do shit. It is what it is. And I really hope that in time they bring it to Steam, because if I had the option to purchase it on Steam, I would have done it on Steam easily.
To me, it's amazing how they got it, the freaking Kinect from the Xbox. Like, did Phil Spencer come to his house one day and caught his wife with a Kinect in bed?
I don't know.
God damn, man. They like just purged that thing. And then I'm super amazed that game was completely based on Kinect, and now you can play with a controller.
Yep, you just play with a controller. You're just walking around.
No, I think the Kinect was Don Matrick's baby.
Yeah.
And then Phil took over afterward, I think.
Like, I don't want that shit. Get that shit on my site.
Yeah. I thought it was a cool device, honestly, on the Xbox 360. I thought it was cool to just be able to come in and say, Xbox, start Netflix, Xbox this. It was cool. I
Xbox, start Netflix, and Xbox would go, what?
And that was it. No, mine actually would work. I was actually in the beta program for it. Yeah, no. But besides that, I've also been playing
Xbox.
A little bit of Call of Duty World War II, not the multiplayer, just the campaign.
How's the campaign?
The campaign is great. Right now, I'm at a part where I'm playing the French Resistance, and I'm playing a female character. Ooh. And her entire part is just stealth. I thought it was really cool how they changed up the gameplay. They have it where at the beginning of this level, you're a spy and you're trying to infiltrate this Nazi base, and so you have papers that you have to study over, and at different checkpoints throughout that level, Nazis will stop you and check you and ask you questions like, who sent you here? What are you supposed to be doing? And then if you answer wrong, they'll be like, oh, you're wrong, and they'll just start shooting at you. They'll know something.
If you do three, you got to do three like this.
Yeah, like exactly. Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
I know that.
I think personally it's a great game. I think they did a really good job. I know it's Call of Duty and it's basically the same thing every year, but I think they did a really good job. It's a pretty cool story. The combat is good. I really haven't spent much time in the multiplayer because I really don't care. I just care for the campaign and the zombies mode, which is fantastic. But that's all I've had a chance to play. Oh, and some coworkers got me wrapped up in the Division again.
Oh,
so I've started a little bit of that. I got a character that's up to level 5.
1.8.
It's a gorgeous looking game. It really is. I got the pro update. It looks fantastic. I forgot how much the game has improved since it launched, and I'm hoping to play a little bit more of that. But that's it. That's all I've been playing.
So Mike, I want to ask you real quick about the zombies, because I heard like the Sledgehammer Studios, was that what used to be Visceral Games?
It was, yeah. It used to be headed up by Visceral, and you can tell very much by the zombies mode.
Wait. No, Sledgehammer brought some people on from Visceral. Like it's, I think the head of Visceral founded Sledgehammer. It's,
Yeah, the head of Visceral, Glenn Schofield.
hold on, well, Glenn. God damn it, Mike! I was going to say it. Looks smart.
Yeah, Glenn Schofield started it, and he took Michael, what's his name, with him. I forgot his name, and they started it. But the zombies mode in this one is very much like the monsters. The zombies are not cartoony. They're gory. There's guts falling out of them. They just look really like something out of a Clive Barker film.
Is it actually scary? Because that's
Like
what I'm
Jericho?
There is actually before you start doing multiplayer in zombies, there's actually a single player level that has jump scares and different things that introduces you into the zombie mode,
cool.
which is really neat. But one of the coolest things that I don't know if the other Call of Duty games did that with zombie mode is that different characters have different abilities that help you out while you're all facing different enemies. Like one character has a power-up ability that she can do is that she has infinite ammo. Another one can put down a healing area of effect thing. Another person can do, different things. So each character has a specialty that they can bring to your co-op action.
Mm.
So,
I think that's really cool.
I'm gonna cut us off here because it's what we're an hour in. And actually, well, and this is my fault because I got too ambitious with the outline, and I kind of knew that we were going to have a pretty packed house. So here's how I'd like to do this. Like let's announce our 3 games of the year, and then I think in each case at least one of us has played that game. And so we can actually talk about each of the 3 within our own personal games of the year. Because that way we'll get more time to actually talk about them instead of having to rush through a bunch of shit. Tony, you still awake?
Yeah.
Okay, you were looking like...
I thought he has his profile picture up.
Yeah.
See, I'm using my iPad now, and so the webcam is at the very top because I have it in portrait mode. But
Okay.
everybody's face and screen is at the very bottom. So if I'm looking at everybody's screen, it looks like I'm falling asleep.
You did almost fall asleep on some old podcasts back in the day. That's why I'm double.
Yeah,
Well, but
reason.
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, we were a little intoxicated sometimes.
Anthony, Zelda.
Yeah. So why don't we just we'll go? Well, yeah. Let's just go through in the same order. So what we'll do? So well, first of all, our games of the year. Drum roll, something, whatever. Yeah, Legend of Zelda: Wild Breath. So there's a shocker. Horizon Zero Dawn, which is an excellent choice, and Persona 5, which that's the one that surprised me a little bit.
That's the fucking wild card right there.
And I mean, I don't dispute it because, well, I didn't play it. But the people that did play it were like, "Oh my god, this is so great!" And it's funny because I think all 3 of these came out around the same time. And
February.
I think, yeah, and a lot of Horizon Zero Dawn's thunder got stolen by Zelda, which is too bad because honestly, I kind of wish they delayed Horizon into like summer or something, just to get because like all the best games of this year, with the exception of maybe Mario, came out. Well, Mario and Original Sin 2 all came out in around March. Now, it's funny because before our games of the year thing, I routinely commented on other outlets where I was like, if Original Sin 2 isn't in your top 3, then you are totally invalid. Well,
not
shit.
totally.
So, but in any case, so why don't we, let's see, we have an hour. So why don't we go one by one? So each person's got roughly 10 minutes. And if you guys overlap, that's fine. Almost no one's going to overlap with me, so I feel pretty secure. But yeah, Anthony, why don't you start when you wake up?
So for 2017, my number 3 So running from 3 to 1. Number 3 was actually Uncharted Lost Legacy, and that was sort of a surprise. It is a standalone game, and that's why I felt fine including it. But damn, it came across as a better Uncharted, which I had no like I had no idea that was going to happen when I
It
played.
was
it.
so,
I agree 100%, man.
It's
So
how I want
refreshing.
Uncharted to be
I really
like
do.
from now on.
yes. Yeah, I want this to be the model going forward, though I fear we're not going to get another one for a long time.
And it was just they threw it together relatively fast. I mean, Uncharted 4 was only like a year, I think, removed. So I couldn't believe how quick they threw it together, and you would not be able to tell. This seemed like something that was in development for 3-4 years. It had the perfect length. The vistas that you went to, I actually thought were better than those in Uncharted. Uncharted had a lot of great action set pieces, but Lost Legacy had a lot of set pieces that I just wanted to sit there and just stare at, which was sort of a first in a game. I mean, yeah, I played games that look really good, but that's one that made you just like pause and you're like, how in the hell are they able to do this?
I
Yeah.
upload shit to Twitter all the time.
I've noticed.
But like specifically from Uncharted Lost Legacy and Horizon Zero Dawn. But yeah, Uncharted Lost Legacy is gorgeous.
Lost Legacy and Horizon are the games that I regret playing before I had a Pro.
And yeah,
Oh,
I played through even though I only have a 1080p TV, but I played through Lost Legacy before I had a Pro as well. But it didn't matter. It just looked incredible.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Even on the amateur, that looks amazing.
So that's my number 3. Number 2 was actually Nier Automata.
Tomato.
Automata.
Which
Automata.
Automata?
Automata.
So
Abracadabra.
I took a college course in that. It's
they had a college course on Nier.
Yeah. It's complicated as balls, man.
that'd be pretty sweet, actually.
You could
So here-
How to say Automata?
No, hearing Ernesto's Metal Gear stream earlier, I was like, fuck, someone needs to teach a college course on the goddamn narrative in this game. Because, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You need several years for that, not just a course.
That's
Yeah.
the kick with Nier though. Like I hadn't played any of the previous games. I didn't know what I was getting into with the creator, who I guess is known for this type of thing. But you could have a very, very long discussion on how you felt about the overall story in Nier. And it stuck with me. I love the setup of a new game plus where it wasn't just boring, where each playthrough was legitimately different and gave me a different perspective. There was a reason for it, and it wasn't too long. Once again, and this is Zelda's a little different. We brought that one up because that's sort of a time sink. Horizon's a little different. That's probably like another 50-hour game. Both this and Lost Legacy struck a great place for me because they weren't too long. They didn't overstay their welcome. And in a time where people use it's sort of like a measuring stick, like 80 hours of content, it's refreshing that somebody came in. Obviously, they had a story to tell. They told that story and they ended the game.
Like
They didn't have
Soma.
side quests for no reason. They didn't do any of that crap. It was obvious from the get-go that he had a specific message that he wanted to get across, and I think by the end of the game he succeeded. It was a very welcome addition for those intimidated and afraid of like the difficulty or anything. Flip it on easy. I did not think it's not on par with like I'm trying to think where some of those
Bayonetta, Devil May Cry.
yeah, it's not on
Good
on
God.
those types of level from a difficulty standpoint. Don't be intimidated. Well worth playing.
Absolutely.
It was near the top also because I long for those Japanese games that are Japanese because they really bring that unique feel to the gaming industry. And this I felt like had that without being ridiculous, which unfortunately I think in
Japanese.
some of the more recent years, those games have been known to just be silly from a story perspective or fall apart through the narrative.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid.
Hey.
Metal Gear
Yeah.
Solid is kind of the start of that decline. Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy X.
Oh,
I mean, I'm talking Metal Gear Solid 2.
Hi, guys.
He's
The first Metal Gear Solid, I think, threaded that line very well. But like Metal Gear Solid 2, Final Fantasy 10, those were two of the bigger mainstay Japan series that starting with those took a step in that direction. And then once we got to Metal Gear Solid 4 and 5, and once we got to Final Fantasy 13, that whole mess, it became known for, well, yeah, the story kind of falls apart in the third act, or you're kind of going to need to read online to figure out what the hell is going on. This had none of that, and this was just to be fair. So you mentioned it before with Metal Gear Solid. So that's my number 2. Number 1 was Zelda. I know that this flips back because I just mentioned it was great that these shorter games, but Zelda, I never felt like I was wasting my time. I would spend 2 hours playing it and maybe not progress the story, but it was just enjoyable. Like everything I was doing in that game, everything I was doing in that world. That's one where I felt lucky that it did grab me, because I know a lot of times I'm on the outside looking in on some of these games. Like Persona is one of them. That game is intimidating to me, and I wish that it grabbed me the same way that something like Zelda actually did grab me. So I spent probably 60 hours in that game, and I loved it. That was one where I wanted to look up online what I had missed, because I did not want to finish the game, which is a huge testament for me. So that ends up being my number 1 for the year.
Okay. I guess I'll go next. So
Divinity, and Divinity.
no, only 2 spots. So just to clarify for everyone, like, we're not necessarily doing ordered lists. You can if you want. But it's not a requirement. And so mine's not ordered, and for a number of reasons. But the first game on my personal 3 of the year, Torment: Tides of Numenera, is the most unique experience I've had playing a game in years. It's cool because a lot of the development team, I got to have a lot of chatter with them on Twitter. Like after I finished the game, where I was kind of, and like they were super like, "Oh, you liked the game? Cool!" And I'm like, a lot of people liked it.
You're
And
one of
they're
the
like,
8.
What?
You're one of the 8.
Yeah, there you go. And but yeah, it was cool, and I kept telling them, I'm like, it is one of the oddest games I've ever played, and they're like, that's a huge compliment, because that's a lot of what we were going for. And if you've played Planescape Torment, this game dovetails very naturally from that one, and it's a different setting. And they kept using the term spiritual successor, but the game is a ton of reading, and it's a lot of thinking outside the box. Like you can actually play through the whole game without ever doing combat. I actually did a little bit of combat, but a lot of it was just looking at your environment, studying things, and figuring things out. And it is an extremely text-heavy game.
So is it like an experience similar to what you would find in a visual novel?
It's actually no. I mean, well, I never considered that before. I guess to an extent, sort of, but I mean, the combat's in the same vein as like Final Fantasy Tactics or XCOM, or but also you can do weird shit. Like you can actually enter into dialogue during combat with an enemy.
Oh, cool.
And so there's all this flexibility, and there's all this, I wonder if I can do this kind of stuff. And the story's really good. It's such an odd game, but it's one of those games that stuck in my head for months afterward. And then, as a lot of you guys know, I was out for 2 months with neck surgery, and in that time, I couldn't really play PC games. And so I bought Horizon Zero Dawn earlier in the year because everything about it said, yeah, I'm going to love this. And I didn't have any circumstances that forced me to sit the fuck down in front of the TV and play it. And then in that case, I did. Like I needed to rehabilitate this hand because I'd lost some of the ability to use it. And the PlayStation controller was perfect for it. Horizon Zero Dawn is one of like the best gaming worlds I've ever been in. everything about that setting. And like I was playing a little bit today. Like I'm still going back and playing stuff in it, even though I've long since finished it. I love the world. I love the characters. And like fucking Jay, of course, was like, well, I don't really like the combat. And I'm like, dude, like, what are you talking? And like, and we had a very civil discussion where I was like,
That blew
you're
my
just-
mind as well.
I was like, Jay, I love you, but you're doing it wrong. You're just doing it wrong. And I kept suggesting strategies. Then I was like, I should just do a stream and show him how to play the goddamn game. Yeah, Mr. Contrarian.
Yeah.
And you know,
I was
no, you're still pretty bad. But no, so Horizon Zero Dawn, it was exactly the game I needed when I needed it. And I was going through a really tough point in my life. And yeah, that game just like I finished the main campaign the day before I had to go back to work. And it was I have a very personal connection to that game. Last game, oh, and its expansion was great too. Divinity Original Sin 2. Divinity Original Sin 2 for me is going to go down as one of the top 5 best games I've ever played.
Wow.
I mean, it's like I'm not going to call it flawless because it's not flawless, but it is as close as any game I've played in recent memory. Like, it did the amazing thing of being a sequel that, one, fixed every gripe in the first game where story kind of sucks. No problem. We'll hire Chris Avellone. And, you know, that fixed that. Some of the mechanics are a little off. You know, some of the crafting, you know, isn't quite right. They fixed all of that. Then they took all the existing systems that worked and then improved them. And so every single part of Divinity Original Sin 2 is a successful iteration of the first game, which the first game is great. I love it. It's also one of those games that I tell people, I'm like, this is probably not for you. Like this, like the first Divinity Original Sin was something that very much appealed to my personality. And it's also Original Sin's punishingly hard. And I don't like hard games, but I like that one because it was hard in a way that made sense to me. So yeah, Original Sin 2, I just like, even though I put in like maybe 100 something hours into it, I want to go back and replay it now because there's so many things I want to see with different characters and shit like that. So,
What's impressive to me is that it's not only an improved sequel, it's an improved Kickstarter sequel.
yeah.
It's like
And
one of the few Kickstarter success stories.
well, now bear in mind, and like I was trying to explain this to Mark as he was shitting all over everything I love the other day. Where
Damn.
like Larian goes to Kickstarter when they're almost done with the game. And so what they do is they say, we have the game pretty much ready, but we want money to actually, we want to add this feature, and add this feature. And then people go, okay, here's 10 times what you were asking for. And then they add even more. And so that's kind of how they use Kickstarter. And like, you know, well, and I won't get too distracted by this aside here. When you're doing Kickstarter, because again, I was like, Mark was like, everything that you like is terrible, and you should not like it because it doesn't match my worldview.
That's
where
extreme.
I'm just trying to be concise, Mark.
Okay.
And you know, and like, so when you do Kickstarter, you need to go with established studios that still have established people working there that are used to delivering. So Obsidian and Exile, Larian, you do those 3, you're set, you're fine. Anybody else, it's a crapshoot.
Like Double Fine.
Yeah, it's oh man, and like that guy. I'm not even gonna recount. See, the great thing about having a community is the diversity of opinions. The problem is sometimes they run into me. And yeah. So that being said, Ernesto.
So 2 of my games for Game of the Year made it to the official 1UP Rejects. And I was not going to talk about them because of the format of the show changed because of the time constraints. I'm going to talk about them now. But My number 3 is Resident Evil 7. I thought it was great. It was a game that I was doubting up until I loaded the disc. Like I played the beginning hour demo. I played all these different things, and I was still like, "What is this? Is this gonna be Resident Evil?" And yes, it is. Even though it's first person, like the way it like redid itself into being something new and interesting, and going back to that horror, and while also keeping roots to the original series. The way you save is very reminiscent of the typewriters. The combat, the inventory
with the
management.
ribbon or without the ribbon?
Huh?
With the ribbon mechanic or not?
Yeah, you instead of being a typewriter with ribbons, it's a cassette recorder with tapes.
God damn it! All right, all right.
Well, there's plenty of tapes if you play on easy. I mean, it's the same thing as regular Resident Evil. I believe when I played it in hard mode, I could not save, or I had very limited cassettes. I don't remember. But yeah, it has that mechanic, the inventory management, the limited resources. So you got to figure out, okay, I got to run from this hallway to the next. Am I gonna run past the monsters? Am I gonna go in guns blazing, but then waste my bullets and be screwed later on? So it's all that mechanic from the classic Resident Evils and in a fresh format. I really enjoyed it. I thought the story was great.
Curiosity. So I stayed away from it, not because it wasn't interesting, but because Resident Evil games always had a little bit of jank with their controls, and this one looked like it was going back to being difficult. So how do you? Was it actually fun to play through? Or...
Yeah. It as a first person game, it controls pretty well. I had no controller issues that I remember. I played this in January.
What about instant deaths? So the other thing that drives me nuts is, so when you'd see the video, you see the crazy family, right?
Mhm.
And I always got the impression that they were meant to be invulnerable. So if they're stalking you, you run into them, bam, you're just dead.
No, it's not right away. It's not like you can take a couple hits and you can escape, but it's a tense. It's not easy either. Like it's meant to freak you the hell out. And I don't want to go into specifics because it would be spoilers, but they can attack you and you'll be able to recover and run away.
Okay, yeah, I'm still waiting for the VR release on PC, but
that should be awesome. I actually like. Blaine, did you play it on PC with the mouse and keyboard?
Yep.
Oh, and I bet that's like the best way to play it.
Yeah, so I have the game. I played a bit of it, and I deal with rednecks so often that a lot of the joy of the game was, sucked away from me because, like, I know people like the horrific family in that.
You know, they eat human body parts and stuff.
I mean, I live right next to Illinois, so yeah.
Shots fired.
Well, and now bear in mind, Chicago is a different state from Illinois. It is technically within Illinois, but it is a different state, and we're not even going to get into the Illinois politics right now because we don't have time.
So, to give an impression of Southern Illinois, the town that my aunt lived in, they had a graveyard and a park at the same location.
Yes, so food and sun.
Wow, that's nice. Anyway, no, but Resident Evil, really fun. A lot of people complain because towards the end of the game, you move away from the setting of the house, and you go into I don't want to go into it, but it's a different setting, more similar to what you would find in more recent games like Resident Evil 5 or 6. I had no issue.
Resident Evil 1 did the same thing. If I'm totally guessing, but if it's a science facility, then it's just like Resident Evil 1.
No, it's not a science facility. Well, you're going into a boat.
A boat facility?
No,
boat facility?
Well, it has no. It's just a cargo boat that.
Is it a science boat?
Yeah, it's a science cruise. So,
All right, sorry.
so once you're in
My
the
fault. I
science
wanted to know
cruise,
about science boats.
once you're in the science boat, the the format of the game changes because you're no longer running away from the family. You're straight up more actiony, and a lot of people dislike that. I thought it was fine.
Oh,
I had a lot
really?
of fun.
That sounds okay to me.
Yeah, it was fun, man. Like it was actually like a nice breather to be able to move away from being scared off from the family and being able to like just go straight up shooting and have all the weapons and everything. I thought it was a nice balance. I really enjoyed the game.
Yeah, I agree.
I do want them from now on to keep going like this in this first person format and balance that out that survival horror with the action, and I think they'll do a great job. And then real quick on my other two, number 2 is Persona 5. I had a lot of time, a lot of fun with it. It's definitely a time sink. The story kind of suffers towards the end, but man, what an adventure! Like I was in it. I was living in that world, like controlling that character, being able to make your own choices of how to spend your day. I enjoyed the social aspect of it so much that I would, because at the beginning of each month, you have basically around the whole month to complete the dungeon because the game is divided between the social aspect and then the dungeon crawling. I would do the dungeon way first in the month, get it out of the way so I could focus the rest on the month on the narrative and just building up these social stories and like seeing where they would go. That was my favorite part for it. Very much felt like going back to The Sims, so to speak, and just seeing how those stories would play out. It was really cool. I enjoyed it a ton. And then my number 1 is Zelda. Man, I love that game. It's like Anthony says, just even if you went to spend like a little bit of time, you would feel like you accomplished something just by going over a hill, seeing something, or discovering a Korok seed, or maybe you encounter a character that leads you to a quest. The shrines were really fun to do. The game as a whole was just a pleasure to be in it. And just like Anthony, when I finished it, I was like, okay, I gotta go and I gotta check online, see what else I can do because I don't want to leave this yet. And I pretty much did everything in that game. And like I loaded it the other day to do DLC, and I still found something new even after 200 hours into the game. So that's a magical experience, and it's my game of the year.
So, and actually, and the rest of us can go back and do this. You and I talked about this earlier, Ernesto, and I totally forgot. So I want to mention a couple of runners up for me. Mass Effect Andromeda, fight me, and Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind. Like the Morrowind expansion was just one of the greatest MMO expansions I've ever played, and it was fucking Morrowind. How can you go wrong? Or actually, is Vardenfell, but you know.
Yeah.
And so Anthony or Ernesto, I don't know if you have any runners up you want to mention real quick.
Not really in the same vein as my top 3. I think there's a pretty significant gap. But to be fair, I have not finished Horizon Zero Dawn. I think I mentioned earlier, I'm like 5 or 6 hours in. So that might end up being up there. Metroid on the 3DS is also very good, but I think is flawed a little bit. Different difficulty spikes, etc. So those 2 more than likely would have been my runners up had I had time to finish them.
My runners up would be Uncharted Lost Legacy. We already talked about it. Like I want that to be Uncharted format from now on. Really enjoyable. I like that it had the linear parts and then that open world chapter. I just had a ton of fun just going around driving, and I actually ended up learning the layout of the land. So I stopped using the map by the end. By the end of it, like when I was ready to move on, I was just driving around because I knew the land. And I had a lot of fun, and the ending sequences are just a blast. So yeah, that would be my runner-up. And then the other one would be Pyre. Pyre is like this game came out, like a lot of people played it and loved it, but nobody really talked about it at the end of the year, which I think it's a shame.
I just bought it.
Oh man, you're gonna freaking love it. The story is great. It's kind of like has like kind of like an RPG tabletop kind of thing going on where you choose your own story kind of thing. And then you build these relationships with these characters. And the story is great. And then the actual Pyre tournament gameplay is really fun. It's like NBA meets RPG kind of thing, where the goalpost has HP bars, and then as you do more goals, you decrease the HP until it's 0, and then that group wins. So, and then you can like play around if you want to use one character as a defense to defend your goal, and then the other ones will attack and pass the ball. It's really fun. I did not expect to like it as much as I did, and I ended up really loving it. I played the versus mode a lot with my wife, and we had a lot of fun. Great graphics, fantastic soundtrack, one of the best soundtracks of the year. And then the story was amazing. So I really recommend it. If you guys see it like on sale or anything, give it a go.
So that was a quick mention.
May I ask, Ernesto, have you played any previous Persona games?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, and 4 actually. Well,
Okay.
I haven't finished 1 and 2, but I did finish 3 and 4, which are the ones that 5 is based on.
So I guess you were just describing how the social link system works. It sounded like you were describing it like as you were playing it the first time.
Oh no,
It's
just
something that I noticed.
no. I was used to the way the game worked, but I don't know. There's something about the way it's done in Persona 5 that it just feels more fluid. Like before the social links, you would just do them to see the story, but in here you had the motivation to complete them because they would give you abilities. So for example, there's a maid that you can befriend in the game, and she gives you multitasking abilities. So by the time that you finish her whole storyline, you learn different skills. Like if you come back from dungeon crawling in other Persona games, you go straight to bed because you're so tired. If you like get the skill from her, you can call her up and you re-energize, and you can actually hang out that night and do social links.
Wait,
Holy crap.
so you can multitask with a maid?
Basically, yeah, dude. You can, like for another example, you can find clothing items on dungeons, but they're dirty, so you need to wash them before you can use them. And that wastes a whole night, like a night slot.
Sure.
But you can call the maid and she'll wash the clothes for you.
Dude.
And then you can go and do all this stuff, and then when you come back home, the clothes are clean. Stuff like that.
Wow.
And there's another character who's a politician, and from him you can learn negotiation skills that help you get better personas, better bonuses. So every character has more abilities that just makes the game better, more fun to play.
Right.
All right.
Is there
John.
time for one more question?
Yeah, okay. Quick.
All right.
I had a quick question for Ernesto about 3, 4, and 5. I really enjoyed 3, but then I felt like 4 had like a really jokey, like Scooby Doo kind of feel to it. Would you say that 5 is more similar to 4, or is the tone going back to earlier in the series?
It's definitely not that Scooby Doo vibe for sure. I would say the most serious one is 3. This one would be right in the middle, and then 4 would just be an afternoon special kind of vibe thing going on. Yeah, 5 it's not as serious as 3, but it does deal with some really mature issues. It deals with sexual harassment.
Apparently,
like-
that maid.
Laundry.
Laundry and maids, yeah, it's all controversial stuff. No, but it touches on some very like hard pressing issues, and it was quite bold in the way it handles some stuff. I really appreciated the story. It definitely feels more mature.
Cool. Thanks so much.
All right, John, what are your 3 for the year?
I'm gonna forego the third Destiny because we already talked about it, and I actually just like to talk about the other 2. And the first one I'd like to talk about is For Honor. It came, it went, and it got forgotten. But
And it's
I
gone.
poured some hours into it, and I really enjoyed that game. It had huge problems, I'll admit, but the mechanics, when things were going right, it was so much fun, especially when you had a friend and you were fighting on a battlefield and you're blocking, you're parrying, you're outthinking your foe. It was a lot of fun like that, and having the different warriors from the different games that wouldn't normally come together, and they all have different attacks, different strategies. It was a game that made me want to learn about it, not just play it.
Huh.
And
That's a
you
high
know,
compliment, actually.
yeah,
That's
it
not
was. It
great.
was the first fighting game that really pulled me in, and that's why I'm mentioning it, and that's why I wanted to bring it up.
Okay.
Cool, because
The
like
other game,
all I heard was negative crap about.
I had a lot of fun with it too. I didn't get the full game, but I played the beta, and like you say, like playing with friends, and they would like scream at you, "Come help me out! I have two on me!"
yeah,
And then you would go and help them, and then fight against each other. Oh man, good
and you
stuff.
learned the character sets and their attacks, so you could learn when to parry, when not, because parries were huge in the game. That would give you a free hit. You could get a parry in. So I wanted to learn to parry. I sat down with a bot and I learned to parry, and I would fight bots and learn to do it. It was the first fighting game that really did that for me. And so it holds a special place, even though it came, it went, it's gone.
It's a shame that it went away when it did, man.
Yeah, if it had gotten, better support, had less connectivity issues and more balance, I think it would have gone a lot farther, but it unfortunately went the way of under supported games.
I think also it benefited from, or not benefited, it was hurt by too much hype. Like,
Yes,
Ubi does
definitely.
Ubi does this all the time, where they'll make a good game, and it is a good game, but they hype it up so that this game is going to change the face of humanity, and everyone's going to have an orgasm every 5 minutes while they play it, and oh my god, it's great. And then the game comes out, and it's like Watch Dogs, where it's good, but it's not this huge amazing thing. And then the angry chittering gamer hordes are stoked by the YouTube idiots, and they're like,
Mhm.
oh my god, it's terrible, it's so bad, when in fact it's actually just a good game. It's
Yeah.
not great.
In For Honor's
Ubisoft doing
defense,
stuff
there
a
are
lot
no
for that.
Ubisoft towers in For Honor, so that's awesome.
And then the other game I wanted to mention was Prey. I was a huge fan of the BioShock series, and Prey is reminiscent of that.
Yep.
And I still haven't beat it. I put a lot of hours into it, but that is a game that just the atmosphere. My play style is not right for the game. I blunder through it like a bull in a china shop, but it is just, the big enemies feel big. They're scary. They may not look scary, but you can hear they chatter. They put a lot of effort into it. So much story is told through exploration, looking through emails, trying to find things that are going to help you solve puzzles, because that's what they are. A lot of things are puzzles, and you can solve them multiple ways depending on how you level up your character, how you level up your abilities. And so I've been really enjoying Prey.
Yeah, the one thing that turned me off about that game was the early enemies. Like, the early enemies were just obnoxious,
Hmm.
and they were not real scary, but they were hard to hit.
That's why I didn't buy the game, because there was a trial to play the beginning, and I was like, screw these enemies, I'm done.
But that improves drastically later, and
Hmm.
I didn't finish the
That's
game.
a bad demo then.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I would totally agree. Like, that game starts really, really slow and rough, but if you stick through it, and I don't know why I stopped playing. I think something else shiny came out. I don't know.
Hmm.
But
I got
no,
distracted.
Yeah, but like the later enemies are a lot better, and then once you really get in, like exactly what you're describing, John, where like the story is told through the environment, and it's really cool. And reading the emails, and then like hearing messages, and then like the later enemies are actually intimidating, scary, and smart.
Hmm.
Whereas the moving dog turds in the beginning are not.
Yeah, but it's also interesting because you can read something in an email, and it'll be somewhere in the game, it'll be referencing something that you'll find somewhere else in the game. That continuity is just it's really immersive.
Man, you make me want to reinstall it.
You're making me want to buy it.
It was
No,
fun. I like being when you can solve a problem by leveling up all your basically your strength, so you can pick up larger objects, or you can do it by leveling up your ability to morph so that you can change into different objects to get through different things. Like, I don't know. It's just it spoke to me that way because you could approach it so many different ways depending on how you felt like you playing it.
You know, God, it like
You know,
so Sean Elliott, formerly of One Up, worked on that game, and there's an Easter egg from him that like I came across on a toilet, and I'm trying to remember, what it was, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh my God, that's from Sean Elliott!" And yeah, like I sent something to him about it on Twitter, and we had a good laugh. But I got to find that screenshot, huh?
On the toilet.
Yeah, like there was some Easter egg with the toilet, and I can't remember what it was, but I don't know. I really appreciated it. So, okay.
I see John has a tendency to like games that were tragically ignored. And I think that's pretty cool that there's an audience for any game too. And that's really cool.
Well, we'll get actually. I want to have a longer discussion about Prey sometime because I need to reinstall and play that some more because
I need to beat it. I'm really close to the end.
I might buy it because I saw it for real cheap. So if anything, we can have a bigger discussion later on.
It's not a bad game at all. Like, it is a good game that I think came out in an overstuffed year.
Yeah.
Like there were just too many good games to do. So, Mark, what you got?
I would have to. I wanted to start with a bit of a disclaimer.
Uh-oh.
For one thing, I guess I would analyze better in writing. So I'm probably going to miss a lot of stuff while I'm talking. But and another thing is I don't really buy games until like they're really, really cheap. So I lag by around a year or so.
But not this year.
No, I think I lucked out. I guess I'll do the 3-2-1 thing, but even though there's no real ranking, I'll start with Ghost Recon Wildlands because it's kind of the most plain. But I would say that one was like that's my third because I guess to sum everything up, it's a stealth sandbox game. Like that's one thing that I really like. I really like stealth games, and that one's just like open world. The map is humongous. There's just so much stuff to do. And
so showing you how little I know about it, is it primarily multiplayer or single player?
There is you can play it completely solo. They provide you with three teammates. Okay, so it starts off slow where like just like the previous Ghost Recons, you can mark enemies that your teammates can shoot. But you actually, in this one, it's kind of dumb where you actually have to upgrade the number of teammates that you can use. You start with one, but you have two other guys just sitting there. I don't know why they did that. But that's the first thing to upgrade to make the game kind of a lot better to deal with.
But you can't play it through the whole thing then?
Sorry?
You can play a co-op through the whole thing?
I think you
can,
can,
yes.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I've been playing solo all this time, and I'm still loving it, provided I have time. I mean, that's the one thing that I have a problem with stealth games is that, yeah, I want to do it completely silent, and enter and leave without a trace.
It's pretty hard to do in that game.
Yeah,
It is
well, it's
tough.
pretty hard to do in any stealth game in a good amount of time. So, like, I try my darndest to find time and do other things at the same time.
For
My
reference,
second game.
Sorry, I was gonna say for reference, I put 30 hours into that game and I've completed about 20% of it. That's how huge it is.
I would say that's a big progression because I don't think I made it up to that much progression.
That's
And
amazing.
I think I put a bit more than that, more hours than that. My second is Breath of the Wild, which I always call Zelda Scrolls because it's, I don't know, the format's really it's the first open world game that I feel. I mean, I'm not very well versed in Zelda games. The only other Zelda game that I really poured my heart into was Wind Waker. And yeah, it's a kind of a big map, but you can't really interact with much of it. Zelda Scrolls, yeah, you definitely can. I think another thing that I really liked about Breath of the Wild is the physics engine, and I'm not just talking about like the gravity or the magnetism, but like the interaction of materials. I don't think I've played many games that do that, where like if you light this piece of wood, it'll ignite. Like you can walk up to a bunch of dry leaves with a torch, and then you can light that up. That I don't know if I really ever played that. Well, I mean, that's probably not a very good example because it's kind of basic. You can see that in more games, but like, you have to like during a thunderstorm, you actually have to take off all your metallic objects like your armor, like your sword, and all that stuff. Because if you don't, you attract the lightning bolt, and you just get destroyed by a lightning strike. So,
And if it's raining, you can't climb up stuff. You end up slipping back down, which is
right. I mean,
really
like
irritating.
there are physical properties on materials, and I don't think I've played any other game that really has that in a real world sense. Where like when it stops raining, all of a sudden that slippery surface that you can't scale you can all of a sudden climb it. That's really awesome. And the first, I'll just move up to my first pick. It is an indie game called Echo. That is a stealth game, but like it's got. I think what really, really, really interests me is the lore in it. Like, I think the way they tell the legend of the game is really cool because it's all dialogue, but it's only between the main character and I guess the supporting character. Those are the only two people that talk. I don't know. I was trying to avoid getting into the details of like the premise of the whole thing because it's kind of complicated.
Well, the bad guys learn from watching you, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Like the main character goes into what she calls a palace, where she grew up knowing that this palace was a paradise, but it doesn't turn out that way. The whole palace turns against her and sends clones of herself after you. Now, the awesome twist about this is that the palace observes your actions, and what it does is it applies those actions it learns into the clones that are against you. Like if it learns a certain number of actions, then the palace actually reboots. And so what it does is it applies these new actions into the clones. Now the other fun twist is that if like between reboots, if you don't do an action that you used to do when it reboots, the clones forget that. So like,
Huh.
for example, if the palace observes you shooting with your gun, it'll apply it on the next reboot. But if you don't shoot on that, like after that first reboot, the second time it reboots, it forgets about shooting. So like the dynamic is really cool. Like I would say that the game is one big chess game, you know. Like all the actions that you do can actually be used against you, and you have to kind of adjust your strategy on the next move. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
For the stealth mechanics, I would say that the basic set is there, but I think I have a couple of gripes. It's only because I got spoiled by Splinter Cell Blacklist, where you know the stealth mechanics, or like like the ability to move, your mobility is really high in that game. If you think that it's usually the case where if you think you can climb up this pole or something, you can do it, and you'll do it quickly, just so that you can get out of the way. In Echo, you can't ascend. You can only jump down. But I mean, I guess because of the character's personality, or their current status, their current condition, I don't really expect them to be able to climb or scale walls and stuff like that. So I give it a buy. But yeah, I would say the big takeaways on Echo is it's a nice way. It's a clever way of implementing stealth and the lore. Like it's set way in the future, and it always feels like it's super in the future. Kind of like that timeless feel that you have in Star Wars. Like they're just these scientific things that you can't explain, but you kind of feel that it's whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Echo has that, so that's why that one is my number one. Aside from the fact that I don't have other games to play like Uncharted because I don't have a PS4. Whatever.
That's because Mike bought all the PS4s. That's why.
Yeah. All the PS4s, all the games. He knows how to actually buy all the digital copies so no one else can get them.
Exactly.
I do. You know that, right?
So speaking of which, Mike, why don't you take us home?
All right. I'm gonna do it fast and dirty.
No. Take your time.
Okay. All right. Basically, my three games that I enjoyed the most this year are Assassin's Creed Origins. I think they did a fantastic job. They changed up the combat. It's the birth of the assassins. The main character is fantastic. I think they just did a great job. Yeah, Bayek is awesome. His wife is great. My only gripe with the game is that still the modern day stuff still is not what I wish it was.
What does that mean?
It's still not fully fleshed out. Not like the original Assassin's Creed games had a main protagonist, which was Desmond Miles.
Right.
And he was a modern day assassin, basically. He was wrapped up. He kind of got placed in this whole thing, and you were seeing this unraveling through his eyes. Ever since they got rid of that character back in Assassin's Creed 3, it just hasn't been the same. They haven't replaced him. They haven't done anything with that modern day fight with the Templars and the assassins. And with this
too bad.
It really is.
I think that was one of the big things about that always kept me interested in the game and the series.
Yeah, apparently a lot of people complained, and they said we just want the history stuff. We don't want to deal with the modern day stuff. But the modern day stuff makes the past stuff more intriguing to me.
Yes,
and it has Kristen
the modern day. Yeah, the modern day stuff I thought was great until around 3, and that's started to get a little silly.
Yeah, that's when it just went off the rails, and I think a lot of it has to do with the original director, Patrice. I'm gonna murder his last name. I think it's like Delisant. He's
Desolé.
Desolate, yeah. He was the original guy behind the franchise, and after he left Ubisoft, it's just kind of been other people just taking up after him. But I think that the director of this, Ash Raff, just did a great job. His name's Ash. He worked on Black Flag, which is one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games, and I think they knocked it out of the park with this. Yeah, and
he showed up on E3.
it's been very, very much inspired by other open world games like The Witcher. The combat system is completely different, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in the future from this. They learned a lot, and yeah, my next one is Uncharted Lost Legacy, and very much like Anthony, it was just I enjoyed it a hell of a lot more than Uncharted 4.
Yep.
It
Totally.
was fun. It didn't overstay its time with me. It was just a great adventure game that I managed to beat in around 12 hours. Awesome ending, great soundtrack. It was just a really fun game that after I literally I just sat there watching the credits and was like, damn, now that's what I wanted Uncharted 4 to be. And it wasn't that for me. Uncharted 4 was kind of a slog, and it was just too much stuff thrown in there, and I really didn't care about this guy's family and his past. I just wanted a fun adventure game. That's what I wanted from it.
Now, real quick, Uncharted 4, and this is the same thing with 2 and 3 for me. Like Uncharted 2, 3, and 4 all felt like every level was about 1/3 filler.
Yeah.
Where you would have this one mechanic that kind of defined the level, and then they would just beat the shit out of it, where they're like,
oh, absolutely.
You like an exploding zombie? Well, here's 5. Oh, wait, here's 5 more. Okay, here's 10. Here, and it's like, dude, just move the fuck on.
Yeah.
What Lost Legacy has done so well is it's addressed exactly that, where it condensed all of that into a nice, they didn't overuse the mechanics, whereas 2, 3, and especially 4 just way overused all that shit.
It felt like, honestly, yeah, exactly like you said, Lost Legacy is a game that had someone come and edit it and be like, all right, this is what we need. We don't need this junk. Just it was pure, and I enjoyed it for what it was. Like Tony says, I don't have a hell of a lot of time, so for me to be able to just enjoy and experience 10, 12 hours, and I'm done, and I get my fill, that did a great job. And my last one is Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, I enjoyed Guerrilla Games' past Killzone games for what they were. They were fun games, especially Killzone 2 and 3. I didn't enjoy the last one so much, but this was honestly, it was a studio coming and growing in leaps and bounds that I didn't think a lot of people thought that they could. And if you told me the same studio that created Horizon Zero Dawn was the same guys that made some shooters back for the PS3 and PS2, I'd be like, wow, okay, I'm blown away. It was really, the story did not go where I thought it went. It went further than I believed it was going to go. And it left me at the end just breathless. And I was like, wow, that was a hell of an experience. And this just solidified Horizon as a very big new franchise for Sony.
And I do want to say, a lot of people, I heard a lot of people say this, they get bored of the game midway through because of the story. And I totally get that. I was feeling that way too. And a friend of mine told me to push past it, because once you see what the story really is about, it blows your mind. And then the game really does. Never stops being anything less than awesome.
Yeah, it was just so good.
Well, and I don't understand anyone that got bored in that game. I really don't.
Well, the problem is at the beginning it focuses on the tribes and the vengeance of the tribe and all that stuff. And I heard this from around 5 to 10 people where they're like, I don't know, man, I'm not really feeling it. Whatever. I'm like, dude, please stick through it. You're gonna enjoy it. And I know Jay was one of those guys, although he was more about the combat for some reason. But I heard about a lot of people that just want to back out, but the story gets so damn good. I think that game is freaking amazing.
No, I don't know what the hell's wrong with Jay, because the combat in that game is fucking fantastic.
Dog, exactly. Yeah, I mean even I enjoyed it, and like I don't play a lot of action-y type games. You know, like if it's not The Witcher, get the fuck out. But no, and I'll say this too. What Guerrilla Games did that was so smart with Horizon Zero Dawn was they hired the right people that they didn't have.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't pretend to have expertise in the genre. So, like, they brought in guys like John Gonzalez from Obsidian, who was the creative director on New Vegas. And at least, in my opinion, New Vegas is one of like the best. I would say it's the best Fallout game ever made. And
It is.
Part of that is also because like the characters and the little stories are so interesting. And so yeah, I mean, really, like who's the guy who runs that studio?
Herman
Something-
Holst.
Herman
Holst.
Holt.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
Like,
love that dude.
In the helmet.
yeah,
Such a cool
and-
guy.
well,
Herman.
it takes so much intelligence and humility to admit that you don't have the right people to make a game. And so you say, "Oh, I want to make this game," and then you bring in the right people, and then there you go. And,
Sounds like the Brooklyn Nets.
oh, I always forget you're a Nets fan, Mark, and then
Yeah, I love the Nets, but you know,
that's okay.
in
I'm a
moderation, in
I'm a gr-
small sips.
I'm a Grizzlies fan, and this has been a really fucking tough season.
And I do want to
But,
say also about Assassin's Creed Origins. Man, what a great game! I did not expect it to be as good as it was, but the combat to me, like as a Souls fan, I thought the combat was great, and I thought it was great the way they went with a kind of like a Witcher vibe of just less shit on the map, but interesting stuff to explore. Like the side quests are actually interesting, and like solving them and talking with the NPCs and like solving the situations. And I would like what little I played, I just walk around and I'll see something interesting. I'll go explore it and I'll have a good time. Meanwhile, with other Assassin's Creed games, I would climb up a tower and then unlock 30,000 icons on the screen and be like, oh shit, I guess I got to go through all of these. And
I guess that's
so
one
far,
thing that's
Horizon
turning me on
Origins
to it.
hasn't been that way.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you say, Mark?
I think that's what's turning me. Like I've been trying for years, trying to get into playing Assassin's Creed, but I just can't. Like my point of entry was 2, and after starting 1, I think that was a mistake, and it's too little, too late. But I'll try. I'll continue.
I think the biggest difference between this Assassin's Creed game and the past ones is that this one has such a sense of discovery.
Yes.
Where it is literally, it tells you this is a playground, this is ancient Egypt, go and discover things for yourself. It never forces you in any direction. It tells you, you can follow the main storyline if you want, and it's great for what it is. But really what makes the game so special are the small pockets of stories that you'll discover just organically as you explore the game.
That's what I'm enjoying. Like I saw this question sign on a point, and I walked to it just to see what it was. And I get there, and it's like, oh, there's nothing here. There's just water. And then I realized you can actually swim underwater, and there was a whole temple underwater. And I just explored it, and it got a couple chests, discovered a side quest that way, and I just kept progressing very organically. And I had a blast with it. I'm really impressed with the game.
I mean, there is literally a town in that game that you'll come across at some point, which is it's a town that people live in peace with crocodiles, and the crocodiles have little hats, and it's hilarious. Nice. And it's not afraid to just throw things at left field. You're like, wow, that's hilarious. And people are like, oh yeah, we live in peace with the crocodiles. We take care of them.
Hats on them.
Yeah, they treat them like pets.
Everybody
doesn't this game have like a really deep like a history component to it? Does it is this actual lore?
Hence the crocodiles and hats.
Yeah, the crocodiles and hats are a huge part.
Totally accurate.
This is basically the beginning of the whole feud with the Templars and the Assassins. Bayek is the first assassin, and it explains the setup of why this feud began and what was the
And
origins
it's all
of
because
this.
of those crocodile hats.
It probably was. No, actually, it's a really good story. I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but it's a much more personal thing, and I think it's great that you have more than one character you play as. You also play as his wife in different missions and different stuff.
Oh.
And
Spoilers, didn't know that.
yeah, you play as his wife as well, and there's just a sense of history, and I think they did a great job of. I mean, there's a little bit even of like Tomb Raider in there. There's tombs that you can discover. You can discover all sorts of stuff in different temples and in pyramids. They did a really good job with the game, and I don't know what's next for the studio. I don't know who is the next studio that's going to be making the next Assassin's Creed title. But I hope that whoever it is, they've taken lessons from what these guys did and move forward. And I don't really have a lot of complaints for the game. My only thing would be is that just work on making combat a little bit better, more variety in weapons and loot, because from this point on, Assassin's Creed is an open world RPG game. It's no longer it is an action game, but it's an action RPG, and it's an RPG through and through with weapons, armor, and crafting. And I want to see that continue forward.
Okay.
Indeed.
So that is the One Up Rejects 2017 Games of the Year. The
Mega Man X
What?
doesn't count.
The last thing I want to say about this is, if you guys think back to 2007, like that was arguably one of the most pivotal years in gaming. I mean, BioShock, Call of Duty 4, The Witcher, Mass Effect, Uncharted, and like there's a bunch I'm not even BioShock.
That was a hell of a year, man.
Right, and then 10 years
It's
later,
twice as good.
Well, it's interesting because 2007 was innovation, whereas I think 2017 was sort of culmination, where, yeah, I mean, like the fulfillment of a lot of ideas that were seeded in 2007, if you don't count Mass Effect, because there were some divided opinions on Andromeda.
I just want to say this about Mass Effect Andromeda. That game got a bad fucking rap.
Yep.
All right, because I picked it up on the cheap for like $15 after all these patches, and what's in there is actually a really solid game with a great combat system.
Yep.
But you know what? No one will ever find out because simply of all the bad press and word of mouth. But it actually is a really great game.
I bought it for $9.89 and I had a blast with it. I haven't finished it, but it's great.
You're talking about post-patch, though. I mean, that's the same reason I gave up on Assassin's Creed as a series, because Unity came out broken.
Oh my God, Unity was a train wreck when it launched.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So,
Ubisoft games.
I think
Yeah, it's true.
I
Seriously,
can
I mean, like,
still say that Ubisoft's doing better.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. Like, I'm going to go and look at 2008 sometime this upcoming weekend and just look at the releases there. Yeah, just like see if there's
a retrospective series. That'd be cool.
If I miraculously have the time and still have a job while I have that time, then yeah, But anyway, so after this, we are done talking 2017 and we are moving into the future. And next week we'll be talking 2018 games. So anyone that's coming back next week, please have looked at the general release calendar for this year and picked at least 3 games that you're hyped about. And also, well, okay, Mark, you can pick one mobile game. The rest of us will pick 3.
No, there are like 12 games in the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection.
Oh my God.
I mean, that's it. That's it for me.
So, God damn it, you totally derailed me there. But yeah, so I will be in San Antonio, so I'll be like helming this from the hotel room with my dual laptops. Well, my son's and mine.
Your mobile HQ.
Yeah, and we're gonna pray to God that the hotel Wi-Fi holds up. Otherwise, I'll have to tether to the iPhone. So, yeah, but that's it. So, thanks everyone for tuning in.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for being panelists here.
Thank you.
And we've learned some lessons in terms of time crunch. So, yeah, next week will be less time crunched. But yeah, so that's it. So everyone say goodnight.
Good night,
Good
guys.
night.
Adios.
And
Oh, yeah.